Hi, and welcome to Honest Participants Only. This is a really, really special episode where I have a guest with me, Naomi Empowers, as you can see. Says her name in bright lights. I mean, not quite bright lights, but I'm really excited because this series that I'm doing on vulnerability is very, very important to me. And when I thought about who I could speak to, so obviously we're doing men in vulnerability, we're doing women in vulnerability. When I thought about who I could speak to, Naomi came to mind straight away. So hi, Naomi.
Hey, Shay. Thank you so much for having me.
You are more than welcome. And thank you for coming. I'll be so honest. Because I know everything you do, everything you are, I was like, she's not going to have time. This is going to be like less than what I want, but it's fine. We'll just go with who I can get. And no, to all the other people who I'm doing this with, no, I wanted you to. But Naomi is a powerhouse of a woman. You are somebody who just has the greatest perspective on things. You have, you're not, your perspective, your personal perspective isn't only something that's personal or that you've grown up with or whatever. It's also a professional perspective because you speak to people about things like vulnerability, things like intimidation, or things like how to motivate themselves out of situations and make the most out of life. I'm obviously cocking up, which, I can say that. I'm obviously cocking up, describing you, but can you tell us who you are for the people?
Oh gosh, who am I? Do you know what? That's a question that really used to trip me up because I do many things. So I often try to tailor my response according to who I'm speaking to. I would say first and foremost, I am a human. I am a woman. I'm a mother. Professionally, I'm a transformational coach and a change management consultant. And I just have the greatest joy, or find the greatest joy rather, from being able to help people move from where they are to where they want to be, using, just different lessons from life and things that I've learned along my journey, things that I've studied for, has equipped me with that toolkit, I guess, to be able to really be of value in people's lives. And that's what gets me going.
And I think that's what I was trying to get at. You see, you said it so much better, and I'm meant to be a wordsmith. Like, I don't know. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm a failure. But anyway.
No way.
No, I say all of that because actually you do that naturally as part of your character, as part of who you are. And so for it to become a part of your, I won't say career, a part of your, well, no, it is career, not your job.
Career. I'm good with career.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm good with career.
It makes so much sense. So to those who don't know you, where can they find you? Let's do that bit first, because I don't want us to get deep into this conversation, get to the end, and then they have no idea where to find you. I know we've got your app name on the screen. But tell us where the people can find you.
All right. So you can find me on Instagram at Naomi_Empowers. I am also on Twitter using the same handle, and you can get me on my website. In fact, my website has the links to all my socials. So rather than me going through it and completely messing them up, it's www.naomiempowers.co.uk, and all my links will be there.
Yeah, I've been on her website, guys. It's actually fantastic. I mean, look into the camera when I say that, so they've got eye contact. They know I'm not lying. It's great. Definitely go and check her out on her website. So today we're talking about vulnerability, and I've got some questions are maybe a little deeper than others. Some kind of just touch the surface, and I've got a selection of amazing women who will be having similar conversations with over the course of the evening. So when I was doing my research, I was looking for the generic description of what vulnerability means, right? And I found the most random, well, to me, and the thing is, I'm not going to tell you what I think of it, actually, because that defeats the object. But I found the most random description, right? My first question to you, then I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to ask you the question, what does vulnerability mean to you? But listen to this definition.
All right.
Someone who is vulnerable is weak and without protection, with the result that they are easily hurt or physically or emotionally. And I read that exactly as they wrote it.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, that to me, that was shocking, but that's as much as I'll say. What does vulnerability mean to you?
I found it a little bit shocking. I think I tried to hide it in my facial expressions, but I'm sure my face gave it away.
Be you.
I'm sure my face gave it away. I think there's a part of me that thinks it's a little bit sad that was given quite a negative spin.
Yeah.
Because I don't, it talks about vulnerability and, a person who's vulnerable, it often leads to physical or emotional hurt. And I'm just thinking, well, where's the positivity? Where's the benefits from being vulnerable? I think that was omitted, and which makes me think, it's not a very balanced definition.
Yeah.
Is there some truth to it? Yeah, I would definitely say so. I've experienced that firsthand, so I know that there is truth to it, but it's not the full story.
No,
I don't believe it's the full story.
And there was no someone who's vulnerable has the potential to be weak. It was just someone who's vulnerable is weak. And that kind of completely alarming. So one of the first things I wanted to get off the bat today was to let the women who were watching, and in fact the women, men, whoever, because although this is a women and vulnerability segment, it applies to everybody. We're just talking specifically about our experiences as women, but vulnerability affects everybody, right?
Absolutely.
In balance, I found another quote, which by our esteemed, I'm going to call her colleague, but I don't know her, Brene Brown. She says, a much more balanced kind of approach. Vulnerability is the core of shame and fear and our struggle for worthiness. But it appears that it's also the birthplace of joy, of creativity, of belonging, and of love.
All right, please say that again for me. I really need
I'm going to put it on the screen. I'm going to put it on the screen. That's probably the easiest thing for me to do. Because,
okay.
Here we go. So, can you see that? It says vulnerability is the core of shame and fear and our struggle for worthiness. Wow. But it appears that it's also the birthplace of joy, of creativity, of belonging, of love.
Wow, I think that's really deep, and I really like that. It really resonates with me. As you said, I think it is perfectly balanced. Shame and fear, struggle for worthiness. Absolutely, yeah. I resonate with all of this. Yeah. Birthplace of joy, I love it. That, to me, that is a beautiful definition of vulnerability as it relates to us as people, but specifically as women.
Because it acknowledges the potential for pain, but also for the greatest things,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
So let me ask you personally now, what does it mean to you first to be a woman?
What is it? That is a tricky question. What does it mean to be a woman?
But to you. So to be a woman in society, we know what that really means. It's not, anyone actually, I was thinking about this yesterday, and we can ask every woman we come across that question, but every single woman has an understanding of what it means in society to be a woman. Sure. Negative, positive, whatever. But to you, being a woman, I hope.
Last time I checked.
Is it something that you love living in that body or that being that person? What does being a woman really mean to Naomi Empowers?
Well, I do absolutely love being a woman. Some people say it's tough being a woman in a man's world. I don't subscribe to that school of thought at all. I really do not. I absolutely love my womanhood, my femininity. I love all of that. And I think what it means for me to be a woman is to be able to fully embrace all the different elements and all the different parts of me. So being able to embrace my beauty and being able to be comfortable and confident with that. It's to be able to embrace the let's say, I'm going to call them softer, not really to draw a comparison, but the softer personality traits, the motherly tendencies, those maternal instincts. But I don't think that you have to, motherhood to me is not the epitome of womanhood by no stretch of the imagination. But I think naturally, generally speaking, as women, we are very caring, loving. We want to protect. We want to, and I enjoy all of that. I think there's also something about being a woman, being able to bring balance in a man's world. We think very differently to our male counterparts, and I don't think we need to be in competition with one another, but I really feel that we can complement one another. My perspective is just as valuable as my male counterparts. And if we are working together in partnership, whether that be across a boardroom, whether that be in terms of a home, in a marital or, some other relationship, I believe that our qualities and our traits and our strengths can come together to create something really, really powerful. So I think being a woman in this world is really all about fully accepting and appreciating who you are, who I am, my mission, my assignment, what I was put on this earth to do, and to be able to do it to the best of my ability. I think as a woman, it's my responsibility to become the very best version of myself. Not to be in competition with you, Shay, as another woman, but if ever, to be maybe in competition with the woman who I was yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's what I think womanhood is really about.
Now, that was kind of a trick question. I tell you why.
Go on.
Because you've said all of those amazing things about being a woman. You also said that you agreed with Brené Brown's definition of vulnerability, the core of shame and fear, our struggle, and it's also the birthplace of joy, creativity, belonging, and love. I want to ask you, you're a woman.
Yeah. Make me nervous.
You recognize the vulnerability elements.
Yeah.
Do you hold on, because I want to get this right. I want to make sure I'm asking you in the right way.
You're killing me, Shay, because you told me it's a trick question. So I'm waiting to see where I'm going to be tricked up.
Do you think that your personality, your character, has a healthy level of vulnerability? Because I'm going to go on to ask you a bit. We're going to get deeper and deeper. I'm going to go on to ask you about where that came from and how you identified it. But do you think you have a healthy balance of the vulnerability in the woman, female body that you're in?
A healthy level. I would say I'm getting there. Okay. That's probably the most honest answer I could give. I don't know if you want me to expand on that now.
Please.
Okay.
I mean, that was literally, you said I'm getting there. You had a pause. I was like, should I just say to her, tell me more?
I wasn't sure. Okay. The reason I say I'm getting there is because, and I'm pretty sure that, the women who are watching this will be able to relate to a time when perhaps you've made yourself vulnerable or open to someone before and have had that exploited or have been abused in some way, shape or form by that, which for me at least caused my defenses to go right the way up. And then that takes time, I think, to gradually be broken down. So I don't think I've mastered the art of vulnerability, so to say. But I do believe that I am, still going through that healing process and being able to understand that, what happened in my past isn't necessarily a reflection or an indication, rather, of what is to come, where vulnerability is actually concerned. Do you see what I mean?
I absolutely do. And I'm going to be really cheeky and ask you, you don't have to give me names, you don't have to give me experiences or places, but what I would love to know from you is, can you give us some examples of the type of things that broke down the early resolve that you had and got you to a place where you needed to rebuild that vulnerability?
Okay, cool. That's no problem. So I think the best way for me to be all right. So I'm going to give you two examples, if that's all right. So one is going to be within the context of a relationship, and the other is going to be in the context of And when I say relationship, I mean a romantic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And the other will be in the context of just general day-to-day, maybe the level of vulnerability I have with you as a friend.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start there. So, like at the beginning, you asked me to, tell you about myself or tell your listeners, your viewers. And I said that I really used to find that question tricky. I was not able to be vulnerable with the world, so to say, and expose myself. And by expose myself, I mean to be able to say, do you know something? I'm actually phenomenal at X, Y, and Z. I wasn't able to actually own that. For a long time, I would really try to dim my light. And maybe traditionally, people won't see that as vulnerability per se. But the reason why I do is because of what I feel that I was protecting. I feel that I was protecting myself from your opinion, Shay. I never wanted you to say, oh, who does Naomi think she is? Or how could she say that she is this? Or how could she say that she's that? So my best bet was to hide, was to kind of fake it, pretend that I was content with being just average when it was killing me inside. So that was, and I don't know I do know where it came from. I was about to say I don't know where it came from, but I know exactly where it came from. I was brought up in church, and I'm a PK, pastor's kid. That's how I grew up. And within our church culture, you are not supposed to be proud or boastful, and that's cool. I got no real issue with that. But where it became kind of tricky was if you did a good thing, like if you came and you sang on stage, or you did, I don't know, you did something, and someone congratulated you on it. You're like it's an unspoken rule. You're supposed to be like,
yeah. Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, all praises to God, not me. Don't look at, like, don't listen to my voice. Don't listen to, just listen to the words, and the Father's going to speak. It's that type of thing. It's almost as though in that culture we weren't allowed to acknowledge, or it was maybe frowned upon rather than not allowed. It was frowned upon to be like, something, I worked really hard for this and I achieved this. And I don't think that necessarily takes away anything from the, if God is what you believe in, I don't think that takes anything away from God's influence or God's power working for you. But I believe the way that God works, you actually have to get up and do the thing. Do you know what I mean? Like if I feel that God has given me the talent to be a great musician, for example, but I never ever practice my scales and arpeggios, then I don't think I'm all of a sudden going to one day wake up and be the next Mozart. It's not going to be my story. So I do believe that there is a responsibility or involvement on our end. But I feel that growing up in that church culture, we weren't really allowed to acknowledge that we did something. And so as a result, it felt really uncomfortable to say, I can do this, or I can do that, or, do you know what I mean? So that's that side. And I say, I'm more comfortable now with making myself vulnerable in that regard, by letting people know what I really think, even if it kind of challenges the status quo. I don't feel as uncomfortable about that. But that's a process and I think I'm still going through it, because even when
I'm going to talk to you about your process in a minute, because I think it's really important for women to understand some of the things they can, engage in order to get through. So we'll come to process, but
Okay, cool. Well, all right. So that's that. So now, in terms of a romantic relationship, and the whole vulnerability issue there, I think that true intimacy is created when two people are able to make themselves vulnerable to one another. Like if I'm able to tell you the secrets that are in my heart, my desires, my dreams, my passions, and I'm able to trust you with that, and you're able to trust me with yours, that's, I feel, how true intimacy is developed. But, I went through a situation where that was kind of, not exploited is perhaps the wrong word, but that was taken and maybe used against me. And so then my dreams and my aspirations were knocked, and All sorts of names were being called, and which really knocked my confidence and made me think, oh my gosh, maybe I can't do it. Maybe I don't have the capacity to achieve all of these things that I wanted to achieve. If I've trusted this person with my heart, and I've shared my deepest fears, my things that I haven't told anyone, I've shared with this person. But now it's all been thrown back in my face, and that makes your defense mechanism kick in, and you just think, well, I don't think I can ever expose myself to that degree again. But again, that was the time where I think my level of vulnerability greatly decreased. As a kind of knee-jerk reaction. If you're gonna expose me, then my walls are going to go right up, so that no one else can do that to me again.
So you speak about putting those walls up, and thank you for sharing those. I know it's it can be difficult because you don't know who's listening, who's watching, and who's judging, and that can be a thing that makes our walls go up as well.
Shay, on that point, I've been a pastor's kid all my life. It don't affect me no more. Water up and bounce back. It's all right. Judgment, it don't matter.
Excellent. Perfect. You'll have to give us some tips on that as well. But you mentioned your walls going up. Would you say that those walls went up temporarily, or would you say that the vulnerability and what happened to you really impacted your actual identity?
100%, it impacted my actual identity. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. I remember looking back on that time, and I genuinely can't believe that I was that person. I can't believe that I could let anyone get me to the point where my self-esteem was non-existent. My confidence, everything had just plummeted. I genuinely am shocked when I look back and think, and I see that woman. It's crazy. It completely changed my identity.
How would you say that happened? So I'm assuming before that time, because we've all had vulnerable moments in our lives, and they wave through, and sometimes it's a little bit hurtful, but we pull back and we protect ourselves, and we're fine. How would you say that in those two situations that you shared, you were able to so heavily be affected to the point where your vulnerability was decreased so much, in as much as were there situations before where you would have felt those things and gone, no, I'm staying away from those? Because you're quite a strong character in terms of what you think, what you feel. If you're going to do something, you're focused. You're really great like that, a go-getter, that type of thing. So I assume if this person or this situation comes at you, because you're quite astute, because you're self-aware, and you always have been. I know you're much more of that even now, especially after healing. And like I said, we'll discuss process. But if those things were coming at you before, was it a choice to allow yourself to be vulnerable to them, or did they sneak up on you?
I would say it snuck up, definitely. I can't imagine. I'm really have to get back into that place to think, what was going on in my mind. It had to have been a slow process. It couldn't have been, and then, do you know what I mean? It just couldn't have been that. What I would say is that love is a very, very powerful force, and that can be blinding. And so oftentimes we can be in a situation that is really no good for us, but these strong emotions can really blind us to what's actually in front of us, and can perhaps cause us to stick around in situations that are not really serving us. And so I think, that was a huge part of it. But it's difficult because there's always good times as well. It's not all bad. So, there are good times which then promote that vulnerability, and then all of a sudden it's like you're in too deep, and now it's like, wow, what is this stuff coming at me? So that's what I would say on that side. With regards to on the other side of things, with me not being necessarily comfortable with challenging the status quo, or telling people about myself in a really confident manner. I think that's cultural, and I think that is something I've experienced. I've been kind of raised almost that way. As I said, I've been in this position since I was born, literally. When I was even telling my children, the first place I lived as a baby was New Bold College. Do you know what I mean? So it's that's just always been part of my life. So that I didn't. That's not something I could have seen coming. I was just in it.
So I was talking with some ladies yesterday about generational kind of vulnerability and how it can trickle down. You're speaking about your situations, and especially your situational one, your experience of being vulnerable and that kind of thing, with how you feel about promoting yourself and that kind of thing. At what point then did that change for you? Like, at some point you had to go, hold on, I recognize within myself that I don't like to do this. Because if you're saying it's cultural, and then I'm going to tack onto that because I recognize it for myself, generational.
Yeah.
What makes you different? Why did you choose to start exploring that within yourself?
Because I can remember this. I can remember as clear as day. I woke up one day and I didn't know who I was. I had completely lost myself. Like, I was the perfect chameleon in every sense of the word. I could fit into any crowd. So that the church people would leave me alone, I would be the perfect pastor's daughter. I would walk the walk, talk the talk, and then the church people would leave me alone. What then made it worse is at school, I was the head teacher's daughter. So then there was that level of expectation and pressure on you. So do you know what? So that you school people will leave me alone, I will be the perfect head teacher's daughter. And I would put on these different masks as and when, so that I could get some peace. Then, I was in college and I would put on that mask to fit in, and it was dangerous, because I literally woke up one day and I was confused. Who am I really? I'm wearing all these different masks to please all these different people. But in the process, I am actually neglecting myself. And to the point where I'm so deep down under all these layers that I don't know who I am. And it was at that point that I then began a journey of questioning everything. Everything that I had been brought up to believe, like everything. I challenged it all. And some things I rejected, some things I modified, and some things I carried and I kept with. And that's what it was. I can't tell you exactly when it happened, like a year, but I know I was at college. I'm not good with maths, so don't ask me what year that was. But I'm 32 now, so I don't know how old I was when I was at college.
Just the other day.
The other day. So that's really the time. I remember it. I can remember it crystal clear. I woke up and I was lost. Don't know who I am. I don't know what I like, really. I don't know what I dislike, really. I don't know what I really even want to do with my life, because even that's another thing. I come from a very traditional home. My father's a very traditional Ghanaian man. And I remember, growing up, you have a few options. You can either be a lawyer, a doctor, an accountant, maybe an engineer. That's it. Nothing else counts. But none of those things really appealed to me. So, I was at college doing sciences, but I didn't want to be a doctor. That wasn't really me. That was someone else's dream that was kind of being forced on me. And so I was on a path and accepting all these messages and all these ideas from these different areas. And I was just lost. And I said, no, it's enough. This is my life. I've got one shot at it. And therefore I have to take back control. And yes, it may upset sister so-and-so and miss and brother, it might ruffle a few feathers. My parents might be hugely disappointed, but I can't live my life for them. They've had their time, they've done their thing, they've made their decisions. I have to make my own. And it was the most liberating experience ever.
I can only imagine. I also can imagine the muddy mess that it felt like, that your heart felt like when you woke up that morning, and you then go, okay, what do I do? And this is too messy. Like, I can imagine, again, speaking from my own perspective, the kind of reticence to do something about it, because in order to face that, now what you're now aware of in you, you have to be vulnerable.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to have to start admitting stuff to yourself, and being real with yourself, being honest with yourself and with others. And as you said, you created this identity for all these other people that said, for you, I will tell you what you want to hear.
That's it.
For you, I will tell you what you want to hear. So if you were so deep in that mire of other identities, how did you start the process of becoming Naomi Empowers?
Wow. So I believe that until the pain of staying the same outweighs the potential pain of change, you will stay exactly as you are. But have I said that the right way around? But so really what had to happen is that my desire for something different had to be stronger than the relative comfort I had in my current state, because change is terrifying for many people. And I had to get to the point where it hurt enough. And honestly, that's the honest truth. That was, Naomi Empowers was birthed through pain. And that is the bottom line.
Was that a choice? You said that you had to allow yourself to feel that pain and to acknowledge it. Was that acknowledgement a choice? Did you go, okay, now I'm actually just going to face it? Or did that pain bat its way through regardless, in order for you to then become this butterfly?
The pain came regardless. Right. I don't think I consciously made that decision. No, I consciously made the decision after the pain. That's when I was like, nah, enough of this. Enough. And in fact, so fast forward a few years, I remember being completely down. When I became this person I didn't recognize, like just a shell of myself, not the real, nothing like what you see today. I was timid, I was nervous, I was walking on eggshells. I remember one day, I sent it was around Christmas. I dropped my children to my parents' home. I came back to my place, closed the blinds, got into my bed and cried and cried and cried. And literally, it might not sound real, but as God is my witness, this is exactly what happened. I stopped crying at some point. I was like, I'm done with this. And that's when the journey began. It's like, I am not doing this anymore. And I can't really articulate any more than that. Like what happened, or, when you're all cried out, you got nothing more. You wept, you mourned, and it's either I lay here and die, or I get up and do something different. And it was literally like, okay, I've got that out of my system. I'm over it now. Not over it as in it's never going to hurt me again, because there was a hell of a lot more healing that was required. But nah, I'm done with it.
I guess your approach at that point changed. So
absolutely.
The approach before that was dealing with the immediate pain, tears, being vulnerable in the typical ways that people attribute to being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And instead you started to choose what action to take when you felt that same pain or that same...
Absolutely. Yeah. And then that's when I gave myself permission to be unapologetically me. Love me, leave me, whatever. Yeah. I can only... The best thing that I can do... Yeah, right. The best thing that I can do is be myself, because otherwise I'm just going to be a cheap imitation of someone else. And I believe that in my relationships, it's best to show up as me, because that's the best thing that I can give to you. If I'm your friend and I want to give you the best of me, then I have got to give myself permission to be me. And that might not work for everyone. It might be a bit too, someone might be used to the old me. And that's fine, because, it's not by force that we have to walk hand in hand.
Yeah.
It's not.
I'm good here.
So it's fine. So, a lot of, relationships have changed. Many people that I was in close communication, let's say 10 years ago, are not in my life like that anymore. But there's no love lost. So it's like, if I see them, we can still have a great chat, but that level of intimacy, perhaps, and I'm not talking about romantic intimacy, but I'm talking about that level of, intimacy in terms of friendships is just not there anymore. And that's okay. It's a liberating feeling.
That's my favourite phrase. And that's okay.
Yeah, it really is.
I just find it amazing to think, and I've known you since you were 15 or 16. And I find it amazing to think that you became the shell of yourself, because who you are now to me, and who, for the viewers, what you see is exactly what you get. This is who she is. So when I look at you, I'm like, I can't believe that, but I do recognize it, because, again, without sharing all my own story, because this isn't about me, it's about you, girl. I recognize the shell person you were talking about. I recognize the battle for to kind of figure out whether the pain's going to rise and become the winner, or whether I can battle through and become a warrior of championing my own sanity or whatever. I always say to people, I think people get to a certain stage in life and they do look in the mirror at some point. I think everybody does.
Yeah.
And if they don't like what they see, there are a small group of people who go, I don't like that, I'm going to change it. The rest, though, and this is a generalization, but it's something I use all the time. The rest, though, go, to change what I see is going to be too hard. Therefore, I'm going to settle. And they settle for mediocrity, for their own character, for their own selves, for their career, whatever it is. And that becomes who they are for the rest of their lives. And they live.
Do you know something, Shay? I think there's another group of people as well. I think the third group, perhaps, will be the people who look in the mirror, are shocked at what they see, and simply do this. They're turning off the light. They're not looking anymore, and they're going to just tell themselves whatever they like. They are in complete denial, and I think that's the other group of people. That's
and
one
those
group.
Groups, those groups, we support them, we create content for them, and we stay far away because we've been there. We ain't going back.
Oh yeah. Definitely not going
I wanted to ask you, because I know we're going to be wrapping up shortly, but I wanted to ask you, with you've got 2 children, a girl and a boy, and with them coming up behind you and watching who you are, one part quickly, do you think the person you were when you were in that pain and most vulnerable could have been the mother you want to be to them?
No chance. No chance. Yeah. Absolutely no chance. It would have been a hot mess. Do you know something? We have another mutual friend by the name of Anthony. And I remember one time he came to see me when I had my daughter, and she was brand new. And, we were talking about things, and, he asked me, who is the most important person in this situation? And I pointed to my little baby and I said, her, of course. And he said, no, that is where you are completely wrong. And you know something? I have never, ever forgotten these words. I can see it. I can see it clear as day. He said to me, you are the most important person in this situation. Because if you're not good, this baby doesn't stand a chance. She can't be who you want to raise her to be if you don't get yourself sorted out. And so the answer is absolutely not. I could never, ever, because I would have been too broken and too damaged. And I believe that hurt people. And I was so determined not to start a cycle of damage, hurt, and pain, and bringing up children who are just wreaking havoc on the earth by their toxic behavior. I didn't want that to be my children's story. And so I recognized that, something, I may not have asked for this situation. I may not have, well, in some cases, some people might argue they were my decisions. And yes, they were. I owned those. I made choices. No one forced me to do anything I didn't want to do.
But life is complicated. So
it is. Yeah. But while I accept that, I also equally accept that it is therefore my responsibility to do what I can within my power to make the best out of any situation that I'm in. And so I had to do that work on me and face the pain, the fear, no matter how terrifying it might have been, no matter how painful, I had to go through it because I had two innocent little brats who didn't deserve to suffer because of my inability to get my act together. And my love for them was strong enough to compel me to do the work even when I didn't feel like it.
So second part of that question then is, how are you teaching them how to be healthily vulnerable? Because on some level, I'm assuming you also, as much as you're like, I don't want to unleash monsters onto the world, I guess you also want to protect them from as much pain as you can, which is unrealistic, but actually is very, very real. Is what everybody wants for the people they love.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a difficult balance to strike. I'll hold my hands up. As a parent, as a mother, I am a little bit irrational when it comes to my kids. Like, if you hurt them, I'm coming for you. Do you know what I mean? I am a little bit unhinged there. So take what I'm saying with a pinch of salt. I will die for these babies. They get on my nerves, but I will die for these kids. I tried to do so. Okay. One thing I'm big on is I will always make a point of apologizing to my children if I have done wrong. Not if, when I do wrong. So they might push me to my limit, Shay, and I will snap and I will shout and I'll scream and I'll be like a dragon. And afterwards, I will go to them individually or together, depending on what the situation is, and say, do you know something? Mummy's sorry. Mummy shouldn't have spoken to you like that. It's not nice to talk like that. In a language that they can understand, because I believe it's important for them to see that even though I'm an adult and I'm the big boss in my house, I can still come to you, small human, and say, do you know something? I was wrong. And I believe that it's important for that to be modeled. I don't know how easy it is for people to learn that without experiencing it. Because I have many friends and associates who come from cultures where their parents weren't able to ever articulate, I'm sorry, or I love you. And they express the damage and how difficult it is for them now as adults. And I thought, something, I'm trying to be out here learning from other people's mistakes because I don't have the time, the patience, nor the will to make all of my own, right? So that's one thing I'm big on. So then therefore it's reciprocated, because if the kids drive me mad, guaranteed in their own time, they will come to me and say, Mummy, I'm sorry. And so I love that. And, it's not the hugest deal in the world, but to me, it's making a big enough impact to lay a certain foundation for the type of people that I want my children to be. Also, I will tell my children, when they're at the same school, they're a year apart. I tell them both, listen, no one's allowed to mess with your. I tell Rianne, no one's allowed to mess with Aaron. I tell Aaron, no one's allowed to mess with Rianne. You're the brother. I'll tell Rianne, you're the sister. You sort it out. You don't let anyone trouble your little brother or your big sister. You don't let that happen. And that's kind of backfired, actually, because
Have you both bullies?
let me tell you who it's backfired on. It's backfired on me. So if I have to tell off Aaron, I'll have my daughter in tears.
Right.
Or vice versa. They will want to, the two of them want to gang up on me if I have to tell one of them off. You know, I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. That's how it's backfired. But no, I'm trying to do my best to demonstrate and to cultivate in these kids the sort of attitude and temperament that I would want to see from them in the future. So they get showered with a lot of love. They're loving kids, and they're all over me. But at the same time, here's a great example. Today, my daughter was playing Roblox. I don't know if you know about Roblox.
Oh yeah. I've got an account. I've got two God kids to not have an account.
Yes, so do I. I have to get in their business, find out what they're up to. Yeah. So my daughter had asked me for some Robux. So I was not impressed, but you know what? Lockdown, they ain't got nothing better to do. So I gave them both some Robux. And then my daughter came to me just this morning, and said, Mommy, I got scammed. I said, what happened? She said that someone on Roblox told her, buy this and we'll do a trade. And she said, I did that. I used half of my Robux, and the person I gave this away, and they took back whatever they traded. I don't know. I don't really understand all of it. And I said to her, I know really what she wanted to say. That was her way of saying, Mummy, can I have some
more money?
Oh, no, we ain't doing that. We're not doing that. I ain't got money to burn. But what I tried to do was use that as a teaching opportunity.
Yeah.
I said, what have you learned from this situation? And that is really how I talk. Anyone who knows me knows this is how the type of conversation I'll have with them. I talk to them really grown up. What have you learned from that situation? At first, she said nothing. She literally said, I've learned nothing. But then
pain in my heart and my bank and my purse.
Half of my Robux, oh gosh. But then she went on to say that what she's learned is that not everyone is going to tell me the truth. She said that sometimes people are going to be selfish. And she went a whole range of things. Because I said, okay, and what else? And what else? And what else? I was trying to glean every lesson out from her. And so I think those experiences, while it may be painful for her, they're important. In a very child-friendly sort of way, for her to be able to understand that not everyone who claims to be your friend is your friend. So it's you gotta, they're my babies, so you want to protect them, but you got to let them out into the world a little bit for them to get a little bit roughed up, so that they can learn the valuable lessons. And she's learning. She will not make that mistake again. I can assure you. Partly because I ain't buying no Robux again, but she would not make that mistake again.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. Thank you so much for sharing that. We're coming towards the end. I've got 2 more questions for you. Sure. I mean, I actually have about 17 more questions. You have children.
Continue offline.
But I wanted to find out from you, why do you think the issue of vulnerability needs to be discussed?
Okay, I think I'm going to get stoned for what I want to say. But
not here, you're not.
No, you're maybe not in here. But for anyone in the comments, listen, it's all good. We can agree to disagree. First of all, I am not a feminist. I have to just put that out there. I am not a feminist. I don't fully understand what feminists want. When I follow through their principles, to the nth degree, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me, and that's fine. I think that the feminist movement has in some way caused some damage on the softer parts, rather, of our womanhood. I don't have to be in competition with any man. I don't have to go into the workplace and act like a man in order to shine, or in order to progress. Me personally, I don't feel that. Has not been my experience. That's not to take away from anyone else's experience, but for me, I don't think that's always necessary. I think and that's just one example, of course. I think vulnerability is an important topic to be discussed, because I think as this world has progressed and the craziness, things have happened and people have gone through hurt and people have gone through pain, I think we're becoming cold as a people. I think that we are becoming desensitized to, or, we're being overexposed to a lot of hurt and suffering. And, sometimes we can, our media is filled with negative images and negative ideas that cause those walls to go up so that we can protect ourselves. But whilst that first definition that you went for in the beginning was saying that, vulnerability is, you're someone who's weak and prone to hurt and pain. Whilst that is often perpetuated, I don't think the second definition gets enough credit, because I think there are some beautiful things that can come out of vulnerability that is respected by the person you're being vulnerable with or vulnerable to. I don't know what the correct verb is there. But I think that we need to talk about it more so that we can help one another to heal and allow ourselves to experience true love again, to experience real friendship again, to also allow us to be our authentic selves, because I think too often we spend our time hiding, and self included, on many levels. Shay, right now, this is on, because this corona thing has meant that the barbers are...
Corona. Oh no, it's pointing. See, I can't even get it right. That's in here, my brain's hiding from me.
But, we all have things that we want to keep back. And I think it's rooted in fear. But I think if we took the time to have these honest conversations, and for us to realize that, largely we're all the same. We've pretty much got the same fears and the same anxieties. Some of us have learned to deal with them better than others. But I think it's such an important conversation to have, because I would hate to be missing out on the blessings and the benefits that come as a result of having the permission to be vulnerable. And so I encourage these conversations to continue. So, if you're watching this, and you've got your own circle of friends, or continue the conversation, dig deep, because I believe that there is so much value in you being able to get to the point where you can say, do you know something? I am going to be unapologetically me. I'm going to show up as me, so that someone somewhere may be able to have permission to do the same, or find their own freedom, or whatever the benefit is for someone else, as well as the benefits that I will enjoy for myself. So I think it's a crucial conversation to be had.
Thank you so much. Okay, last question. And it kind of links into what you just did, in as much as addressing my viewers.
Okay.
I told you I wanted to ask you to speak to you about process. Can you give the people watching some tips, some ideas, some kind of places to start when it comes to figuring out the process to healthy vulnerability?
Okay. I think I want to speak to two different types of people. So the first group or type, maybe it isn't two types. Here's what I want to say. I recognize that some of you, I don't know all of your stories. I don't know what you all have been through. But I do recognize and acknowledge that some of you have been through some horrendous situations that I could not even begin to imagine what it's like to walk a single day in your shoes. And so what I certainly don't want to do is belittle your pain or undermine your struggle. I would hate to ever do that. So what I would first say is that in some instances, more often than not, professional help is your best friend. Paying to speak to a counselor, a psychotherapist, I don't know, whoever is qualified to be able to help you unravel and deal with the mess or the clouds or whatever's going on up here that is preventing you from being able to be vulnerable again. Seek help, because I think the worst thing is to go through life struggling, carrying these heavy burdens and these heavy loads, when there are people out there who are positioned to liberate you. So that's the first thing that I would say. I would say once you've gone through that journey and you have, that has been resolved or is on the way to being resolved, I think it's about developing a sense of self-awareness and getting to know yourself again. Because if you're anything like me, the lack of vulnerability can lead to a loss of your identity. You might have forgotten who you are. And I know exactly what that feels like. So I would say just to take some time out to really ask yourself some questions and be honest with yourself. Even if you're going to lie to the rest of the world, be honest with yourself. What is it that you actually like? What is it that you like about your own self? What is it about yourself that you feel that you want to work on for you, not for anyone else? It's about taking a look at what your story is and examining the narratives or the beliefs that you have about yourself, and really being quite critical about the beliefs you have about yourself in as much as trying to identify whether these beliefs or this story that you have about yourself is helping or harming you. And then it's about replacing those stories that are condemning or that are painful and are harming you with stories that are more edifying and that are more empowering to you. And I believe that going through that process, your level of self-awareness will just increase and you'll become more enlightened. I think it's also a case of being able to feed your mind with media, with content that is conducive to the type of state you want to be in. If I'm going to sit down on social media or whatever it may be, or read books that are just filling my head with nonsense or maybe even making me feel worse about myself, then I need to be able to say, do you know what, Naomi? You have got to love yourself enough to get rid of that because it's not serving you. I think ultimately, Shay, that's what it is. It's about being able to take a look, almost like do an audit of your life and take a look at what is serving you, and put that against what is no longer serving you, and making a decision to choose you. Choose yourself. Prioritize yourself first. Because I believe that once you can become fully at peace and fully accept who you are in all of your wonder, I'm not just talking about the good parts. I'm also talking about your flaws. Like, embrace them. Own it. This is who I am. Not to say that you have reached perfection and that there's no work to ever be done, but to acknowledge that I am where I am right now because of the choices that I've made, because of the situations that I've been through, but it doesn't mean I have to stay here. I can move on to the place that I want to be. And I believe once you can get to that point of acceptance and loving yourself enough first, that's when you can truly give yourself permission to be vulnerable and enjoy all the blessings that come with it. But I have to throw a little caveat in there, Shay, because I'm not making any guarantee that it's going to be plain sailing and that by making yourself vulnerable, you'll never be hurt. Absolutely not. But you know what I've recognized and I've learned? That pain is a part of life. I've got 2 children, as Shay said. I've got a 7-year-old daughter, a 5-year-old son, and I want to protect them from every hurt and every, I want to protect them from it all. But I realized that even in something as simple as them learning how to walk, they had to fall down. Falling and failing was a prerequisite to their success. So I say that to say, on your journey, mission, a path to becoming more vulnerable, you're probably going to experience some pain. I pray it doesn't kill you, but as long as it doesn't, it is my hope that you'll be able to use that and to repurpose that pain so that it can be used to take you to a higher level in life. And I guess really, broadly speaking, without getting into too much detail, that's all I can really offer.
Listen, I told you, viewers, I told you that what she does and who she is are the same thing. So if you need more of that, the M bit that you heard, I don't know why I'm looking down there. If you need more of that, absolutely follow Naomi Empowers. Go to naomiempowers.co.uk and just engage with you, right?
Yeah, I'd be happy
Because,
to.
yeah, I just think, like you, I think the topic of vulnerability in general is really important. And actually, as I was listening to you, I was like, that applies to both men and women. It's not even
Facts.
about
Facts.
women specifically. As you know, we're doing women, we're doing men, and then we're going to do men and women together because,
Yeah.
like you said, as much as there are differences between us, we're all one race, we're all human. So
Absolutely.
I really want to thank you for being here tonight.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And I look forward to the. Well, I mean, you're a butterfly anyway. I don't know what butterflies can become. An even more beautiful butterfly.
Do you know? I'll tell you what you can look forward to, and this is something that I'm looking forward to. As I said, I haven't made it. Like, I'm still on my journey, and so I'm looking forward to taking that next step. And that's all we can really do. Just take one step after another, after another. So every time, you take a minute to kind of celebrate, pat yourself on the back, well done for getting there. But, eyes on the next step. Let's keep it moving. Because I really shade, one thing, my mortality is not lost on me. Yeah. I'm so aware of the fact that one day I am going to die. That might be really morbid for some people. It might be really tough to hear. But you know what? These are the facts. One day I will no longer exist. But you see, up until that point, I want to make sure that everything inside of me gets out. I want to make sure that I die empty. I don't want to die with dreams and no. This is why I'm moving with such urgency now. People who follow me on social media would have seen a shift, and if you don't like it, unfollow, because there's going to be a lot more of it. Mind the business. So yeah, I'm moving with urgency because I'm trying to get to the next level. I'm trying to get everything in me out, so that I can say at the end of my life, I have completed my assignment.
And for me, that's such an important thing, because I'm one of my most, the things that sits on my heart most, that's most important to me, is legacy. And people think legacy, I've got time to build it. Your legacy could begin tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Because tomorrow is not promised.
That's it.
So absolutely. To all the viewers, please comment in the comment section and get Naomi Empowers to give her daughter more Robux.
I'll set up a GoFundMe.
Yes, if you want Naomi's daughter to have the Robux, donate. Thank you so much for being here. I always appreciate you, and I can't wait to do more stuff in the future.
Looking forward to it. See you.